All right, cool kids. So here we are. Little update. Got some more of the lugs that came in. Was able to rig this up, get it bound. I decided to move these all the way back here. One, because I forgot. I don't know why I forgot, but I forgot that I needed a grounding strap. That's just a kind of a placeholder as a what one might look like. But battery is coming together. Next thing for the batteries I got to do is I got to make the equal length lines for the connecting battery bank up to the actual electrical system. And the thing is that the there's two things you have to keep in mind when doing this. One, the connection point for the ground cable and the connection point for the live or power cable, they need to be on opposite sides of the battery bank. And the other thing that we have to do is the links going from the connection point to the place where it connects up need to be the same length. And the reason is because the resistance of the wire is directly proportional to the length of the wire. Assuming the wires are the same gauge and material, then we want the resistance to be of the wires to be as close as we can make. So they got to be basically the same length. And so we'll do that. Now, in order to get them the same length, I got to mock up where my trash is going to go. So this is definitely going to be underneath the bed, because this is the bed. The bed ends right about there. That's about where the bed ends, at that little mark on the wall, because it's a 55-inch wide bed. So that means that all of this is going to be under. I put this in because this is one of the things that's going to hold the horizontal pieces for the bed. And so I wanted to make sure that, I definitely have enough clearance. Did a measurement up to here. This is 17 inches. Up to here is a little bit more than 17, but I was like, that's a nice prime number to set it to. All right, so that's what we're going to do next, is kind of mock these up. I was tooling around with different ideas for like mounting this vertically or on its side like that up on the wall. But when I flipped this thing over, messing around with it yesterday, I found that it has it has some feet on it. And so I was like, well, why mount it or anything if it's got feet? And I'll just put it horizontal. That'll free up a lot more space up here to put my trash in up there. So now the two things I need to think of is, all the wiring and stuff that goes in and out of this inverter is right here. And so all of the other bits need to be up there. But what I don't like is, so this is the power disconnect. That's what this thing is. And that power disconnect is, critical for safety. And what I don't like is that it's deep under the middle of the bed and it's just not going to be accessible. So I'm kind of thinking that I want to flip these things around and put this over here and then flip this over and then have all my other trash right there. And then that way, if there is an emergency, I can reach under the desk, because the desk is going to go right here for computers and stuff. I can reach under easier, and since this is the edge of the bed, and turn it off. So that's probably what we're going to do. The length of the cable going from, either of these far ends all the way over to here, it's still really small, so it doesn't matter. You don't start, for this gauge wire, you don't really start getting drop-offs until you're hitting like multiples of tens of feet and stuff. So this is a big nothing burger, but they still need to be about the same length, ideally. This might be so short in practicality it doesn't even matter, but that's the way that people do it, so I'm not gonna reinvent the wheel on that. So gonna mock this up a little bit, see what that looks like, just using some regular wood screws to put stuff in. This or one very similar to it is in fact going to be what these things get mounted to, but this particular one at the moment is just sacrificial board to give it a go. There's also going to be a board like this underneath the batteries and underneath the inverter, laying horizontal, for fastening those things to something. So they're not just, neither one of these heavy things are just kind of floating around. What is nice though, when thinking about like the weight distribution, so whenever you got a trailer, here, let's just go out this way. So whenever you got a trailer, the basic notion, what I understand, is that you want about 10% of the weight over here on the tongue. I think that's right. I'll have to look it up. So what that means then is you don't want to put all your heavy crap right up here, because if you put all your heavy crap up here, then you're going to have way more than 10% on the nose. I already got some heavy crap up here. That thing is very heavy. For the air conditioner or heat pump, that's already pretty heavy. So figured that, ideally you want the center of mass to be just in front of the axle. You don't want the center of mass to be behind the axle, because then the whole thing will just always want to tilt that way. You want it to tilt that way. You want the torque, the resultant torque, to be right over here. That thing's heavy. It's got a really long moment arm. And so the original sketch or design that I had the batteries and the inverter out in front here. Well, that puts like everything, all of the weight of everything in front of this axle. And so I was like, all right, well, maybe what we should do is move it just a little bit back here, so that all of that weight from the inverter and the batteries is behind the axle. Still, it's getting all of its support from the axle, but it also kind of does a little torque offset, if you will, to pull it back like that, so that the resulting weight over here isn't as bad. Does it really make that big of a difference? Probably not. That's relatively small moment arm compared to this giant moment arm, but it's there, it helps. And it also has the nice benefit that the battery pack is close to an exposed portion of the chassis that's metal, and I definitely need to tie into that. So there's that. The other thing that I am thinking about why I might like this rotated is because all of the output lines are going out this way currently, but I need power outlets, going along this way for my computer trash, for the AC, and for whatever else. And then I'm also going to need some for over here. So if this is oriented the way it is, then I got to loop that line back and run it all the way. Not a big deal. It's just this direction will come straight out. I think I'd rather have it flipped, this coming straight out that way, and then have to do a flip back for that. Not really a major design decision or anything. I think all the other stuff outweighs it, particularly the safety thing. So that's what I'm going to do there. Alrighty, y'all. See y'all in a little bit. Get some more progress happening on this, and I'll show you some mock-ups. Alright, so here's a mock-up. I don't know if this is what we're going to go with. It's basically that original one. This was further over. I did flip this around so that the output cables from that go directly into there. It's a nice short run. It's just one bend, and hopefully that'll make it a little easier to connect those. That's the solar controller, and let's see, the solar wire is going to come in from up here, so it's just going to come straight down into that. Well, there's a disconnect that I put up there, but it goes into that. This is the Bluetooth kind of a thing that connects to your phone and all that other trash, and it connects up into here. And DC power will go into a DC fuse box. I don't know where I'm going to put it. Maybe over here. Who knows? Maybe over here. I don't know. But I still have that problem of the disconnect being underneath of the bed. And when I was originally talking, I was like, all right, why don't we put this over here? And then, I would just turn this upside down. Well, I forgot that these only come out in one direction. And so if I were to flip that, then these would be up here. And so then they'd have to come out, snake around in some way, and then down into, and that just doesn't feel right. Maybe what I could do is in the plywood that I, put down for the bed, maybe I have a knockout right here, like a hole or a lip or a hinge that I can flip up to get my hand in and turn it off. It's one way of doing it. Another thing, maybe I put another board near here vertically and mount it out a little bit. So I don't know what I want to do. The fact that this is directional bothers me. I wish that you could go inside of it and like change the orientation of things, like the internal guts, and turn them in some way so that you could keep the output coming down like that, even if it's flipped over. It doesn't look like you can do that though, the way it's structured. So it is what it is. Well, it's a first draft, and everything's fitted assembly and agile development. So, as long as wires connect up correctly and the thing works, that's the first thing that matters. So I think that's what I want to do, is a hinged access. I think that might be the simplest thing. Pull the bed back, lift, because it's just a foam mattress. Just pull the foam back, open up the hinge, and then just do that. So then that way this stays in the orientation that it needs to be. I think we're making better use of the space, and the with all that's heavy, all of those are heavy, so they're all behind the axle, and so I think I'm okay with it. These things, it'll be underneath the desk, because the desk, pretty much will start right here, and maybe I'll put some sort of a barrier or temporary barrier, something that can be removed easily, so that I'm not kicking it or accidentally damaging it in any way while I'm doing stuff. That's not bad for a first sketch. I think we just roll with it. Just give it a go. And yeah. Okay. From yesterday, there was I had noticed that there wasn't a circuit board in here. Or actually, maybe it was a couple days ago. And I was like, this doesn't seem right. And turns out it wasn't right. So when I had originally ordered the distributor, in the distributor box from Amazon was a power in, not a distributor. So thank you, Amazon, for sending me the incorrect thing, even though the box said distributor. What was inside was a power thing. So I ordered yet another distributor, and this time it actually had the actual distributor in it. So I went ahead and put that in. Amazon's getting this thing back because reasons, that was super annoying. Anyways, that's in now. We got the proper distributor. So the next thing to be working on here is, you can see I'm using Explorer Slice's diagram. It's really good. I got this component in. That's the fuse for the power line coming off the batteries that go to this. And so that's the 400 amp fuse. And then what else are we doing? Oh, the other thing I noticed was the ground cable that's supposed to go to the chassis. I put it there on the battery pack, but the diagram says that it's actually supposed to come off of the bolt that's right before the distributor. And so I need to make sure that that is truthy across a couple other diagrams. Like, is it always right off of here? Can it come off of right here? Or can it come off the battery? I know that it can matter for ground looping and things like that, where it is that you actually tie it into your system. But I don't know if that actually matters here. But I need to do a little bit of research. Do you put the grounding strap or the chassis grounding strap on the battery? Like, is that a big no-no, or does it not matter since it's a common ground? I think it's a no-no because you want it to be the ground loop, because the ground loop is part of a protection system. And so that's why it matters where you put it, or it can matter depending on the electrical system. So I'll do a little bit of research on that. We definitely got enough cable, so that's less scary. It's just a matter of figuring out which one it's definitely supposed to be. Now that we have proper distributor, that means that we can start connecting the communication cables between this and the BMS, and BMS down to the Cerbero GX. Today we'll also get the wires for the battery to the system. What do I want to say? From the solar to the rest of the system. Yeah, it goes in a specific spot, I think, over here. I just have to double check, look it up. But yeah, I don't know, man. We're rocking and rolling. Things are snapping together now pretty quick, which is great. I need to get the board cut to go underneath of this. Maybe I should do that before I get to measuring the cables that need to go from here up to there and so on and so forth. I also need to order an AC breaker box, which I'll probably just put right here to go so that the AC output from this goes down and up and into the breaker box, and then from there it gets distributed out to the individual cables that are going to run to the electrical outlets. And that gives it a little bit more, I guess, protection, but it lets you more cleanly separate out the paths, and you can directly protect those paths, without affecting the other ones. So, like, if one pops, the other ones don't pop, or Whereas if I just ran this directly and did some knob cobble together thing or whatever, then if one pops, then they all pop, and I don't want that. So it's obviously good practice to have a circuit breaker. So we'll have to do that. I don't know if I'll just get like a small house one, because they're for They're bigger and bulkier, but they're inexpensive compared to like the Blue Sea systems, one which is $200-300. So I don't know. We'll see. I'll have to look at some options. But my initial thing that I want to run is the solar and get that working so that I could get it trickle charging or charging these batteries, because I think I said yesterday these are in a save state where the internal shut off because they just slowly drained their battery charge over the months or years that it was sitting in my garage. Hopefully they're not ruined. That would supremely suck if those are ruined for just sitting there for too long. We'll see. All right, let's make some progress. All right, making progress. Very happy with this so far. So it looks a little janky, but it's coming together. I need to get some, I think 5/16 bolt screw and nuts for those two things. But here's the ground cable, goes in right there, and it's the same length as this cable going from there down through here and there. I mean, actually, I measured this first because it's the long one, it's the super long one, and then I measured this whole thing off of it. And so now they're roughly the same length, probably a 1/2 inch or so difference, but it's good enough. We also got the battery straps down. Those are screwed into the boards on the bottom, and the battery straps there too, boards on the bottom. I need to get some aluminum angle to put there and to put there to make sure that these things are up against the wall for sure. I went ahead and screwed this board into the wood back there. Everything seems to be working well, so why not just use it? So that's where I'm going to leave it today, I think. I think tomorrow, now that the battery is put together, it's connected up to here and into here, and so is the ground. I think the next thing I can do is run the communication cables over to the Serbo GX, which is the thing that connects to my phone, and also run the solar panel cables from there over to here. And that should be it, or maybe it goes into there, I forget. I'll have to look it up. And that should be a big milestone for that. Let's see, I also got 4-aught cable I need to run from here down into the inverter, so I can probably take care of that tomorrow. But yeah, it's coming together. Incremental. Slow progress, but never done this before, so I'm figuring things out. So far satisfied. Hope it'll boot up. Today was a heads down kind of a day, just knocking things out, trying to make some progress here. We got the 5/16 connections established right there. We got the ground chassis put all the way over to there. That was actually really fun. I got to use the a thread tool, this guy, that just screws in, and surprisingly it just worked. And today was filled with a bunch of hiccups of things not working, but it's cool. My parents helped me out. They came out. My dad was helping cut these big honking wires. He installed these bad boys, which is pretty cool. I don't have the fuse connected yet because I don't want to accidentally power that when I do my first set of tests. But I got the power cables for the solar connected to there. And then I got this one. It's ready to be connected up to the solar panels, but I accidentally purchased the housings for the solar panel things. This isn't the kit that I'm talking about, but these are the type of connectors I'm talking about. And there is a little tube inside there that gets crimped onto the wire so that and then it snaps together. So I just bought the cases, and I neglected to buy the actual inserts, let alone the correct crimp shape for my set of crimpers. So figuring stuff out as we go, but yeah, setting that up was really easy. Using these crimpers was pretty awesome. I'm trying to think of what else did we do. There's a lot of little things, but most of it was gearing up towards starting to get these things put together. Oh, I got one of the communication lines put in. There's a few more that have to go on, but we're not ready yet to fire it up. My intent with once I get the correct crimps and insert things or whatever for those cable housings for the solar panels, what we'll do is we'll get this connected up to a couple solar panels, and then feed that in, and then it'll be charging just off the solar panels. I want to make sure that works first. We'll get the software updated on these things and on that, and once I feel confident that this is behaving well, then we'll start playing with this. I don't want to do too many things at once, since you might break something and now you got to sort out, okay, which thing broke. If I'm only doing like one thing at a time, then it's definitely just that thing. So and so I left the fuses off right now just for blind safety. Even though this thing is disconnected, I don't want to mess with it. That's it. That's some progress for today. I think I'm done for today. I'm kind of ready to go do something else for a few hours, but getting close. Really pleased. We got a trip to Michigan in 6 days, something like that. And so even if this isn't completely working for that trip to Michigan to go help my buddy with his cabin, at least be able to take the trailer and get like a test drive, because that's a good 6-8 hour drive. Even though I won't potentially have electricity back here, it'll be okay. It's not the end of the world. But I'll at least get some experience out on the road with this big honking thing. You see, oh, behold my mess. It's a thing. But yep, making progress. Okay, about to explain the potentially expensive mistake I made here. So these batteries, I bought them a few years ago, and I did not trickle charge them when I received them, and they've been sitting in my garage for a couple years. What happens when they sit in that kind of a state is that the little circuitry that's inside, protection circuit, all that kind of stuff, it draws like microamps or something. What that means is over time it starts to it's just discharging slowly over time, and normally it's not a big deal, but they've been sitting there so long that they discharged enough that the internal protection circuit apparently kicked off, and it disconnected the individual little cells that are inside. And so they are measuring just 2.1 volts when I hit it with the multimeter. And that's not good. I found online that I might be able to recover them by applying a 12-volt source to the post and waking up the protection circuit, which hopefully will reconnect them back in series and parallel. And then hopefully that means that the battery itself will be able to start accepting a charge, because right now they don't. They're not accepting a charge from anything. Okay, so the game plan is I'm going to pull the truck around. Got some long battery cables, or not jumper cables. I'm going to disconnect these and just try a single battery and see if I can get anything to happen with that. Probably just start with that furthest battery since it's already connected to the other stuff. And what I saw was that if you take the 12 volt and you apply it for about 5 seconds, that should wake up the circuit. Lithium cells, you generally speaking can't just apply raw voltage and current to them like you can lead acid. It needs to have an integrated circuit inside in order to charge them up properly. And the reason you do that is because if you dump too much power into them to recharge them, hydrogen gas will form, and inside the cell also crystals can form, and then those crystals can bridge and make an unintended short circuit. So generally speaking, you need a integrated circuit to manage the recharging. But for a short period of time, shouldn't produce a whole lot of hydrogen or anything like that to damage the cells. That's the idea. So if we can wake one up and get it to start recharging, cool. If not, I learned a very expensive lesson, and we'll have to buy new batteries. Oh my gosh. Yep. So I'll get you set up on a tripod and we'll see what we can do. All right. Here we go. Got the truck pulled around, got the solar panels hooked up. Solar panels are over there. It says like it's ready to rock and roll. Flip this over so that the connection's made. And double check. I don't see any of the other lights turning on. All right. Here goes nothing. Worst case that happens, I lose a battery and I gotta buy a new one. I think it goes ground and then positive. I really don't know. There's ground, and here we are. Let's see if this wakes it up. Yeah, okay, we're getting 12 volts. Good. Now, is any of this stuff turning on? I don't see anything turning on. Not even the servo. Fuck, something's really wrong with it. Huh. Yeah, this isn't even turning on. Alright, is it not getting anything back here? Let's see, let me possibly. No, it's not. It's not getting anything. Nothing there. What? Nothing there. 1 volt. Alright, let's disconnect this. It doesn't feel safe. Alright. I have a deeper issue, I think. 12 volts was... Yeah, I'm stupid. I didn't connect my ground cable. Alright, let me put you on stop and we'll try again. Maybe I'll be smart and actually connect my ground cable correctly. God damn it. Well, I feel a little silly. Alright, so I connected that ground cable and to the battery, and suddenly my system came alive without even being attached to the truck. Let me flip this around. Why won't this let me flip? Alright, so now it's actually doing something. We see all these lights kicking on. I don't know if red means something is really bad, but I'm starting to get some beeps. There's Bluetooth. We got Wi-Fi. Oh look, that just changed. Maybe that's a good sign. I don't know why this went away. Yeah, I'm gonna fiddle, see if I can power cycle the system, and these lights were on, so I'm gonna see if I can connect to those and see what happens. All right, we're making incremental progress here. So what I learned was that there is definitely imbalance here, and this smart BMS has detected that and is putting itself into it's disconnecting the battery, even though this is on, or it was on. It disconnects the battery because it's protecting itself, and then because this is the system side and this is the battery side, it's disconnected, and so the power coming in is not going to make its way across because this thing has internally disconnected it. So I either need to trickle charge this back up to health, or potentially I could use my inverter to take in shore power and produce DC power, and that may fix this guy to allow stuff to go through. I did order a trickle charger, but it won't get here for like a week. So, I do eventually have to hook up shore power to this, but I wasn't really planning on doing that yet. And so I'm kind of wondering if I should go get a trickle charger for lithium batteries. See, maybe Micro Center has one or something. I don't know. Yeah, so that's what's going on there. We are getting. I had to put these fuses in to clear some of the errors because it was detecting that it was saying fuse was blown. I mean, it's a broken connection if that's not there. So that's why that is. In the app, I can turn these two things off, but just for the short term, it was easier just to put these in, and less fiddling around and changing things by just putting those in. That cleared off that code. But yeah, we got the only codes happening now is low battery cell and that it's done an internal disconnect. So we gotta step through a few more things, trial and error, but we're making incremental progress, which is good. Oh, sweet. So there's like a dual recording thing on the phone. So today's an exciting day. We got made some progress on the batteries. Where I left off last time, the batteries were dead, and I didn't think they were recoverable. They were down at like 2 volts because they've been sitting in the garage for so long. But was able to hook up the solar panels to the solar charger, and then use that to bring them back to health. And so they're back to health, and that's reassuring. That's exciting. Today we're doing the solar panel install. You see we got the panels out there. We're putting the feet on them, and they will be, we're going to put VHB, very high bond tape on the bottoms of those, and they're going up on the roof. And it's going to come in here. I got that installed. The physical disconnect, it's plugged in there. We got some longer Ethernet cables, so these are going to get swapped out. And I got this is like a chassis ground, and from what it saw, it looks like I connect that to the chassis ground here, and then that should be good to go. This is temporary for testing out the alternating current in, and eventually, not today, but we'll put the shore power as a whole right there. And then what else are we doing today? We also prepping this. I got a adjustable hitch. I can raise and lower the actual hitch itself to get the right alignment, and so we'll put that on the truck, and then we'll pull this out over to a more level driveway, and we'll get that adjusted and sized just right. And yeah, it's coming together. It's I am irrationally excited. This is pretty cool. Oh, and this is the circuit breaker for the alternating current. Doesn't come with a case, which is unfortunate. So I might have to 3D print a case or something for it. Trying to think of what else. It's just so exciting. So excited that those were able to get recovered. Oh, the other thing, it turns out that the solar controller, for some reason, it arrives to you with a default of being set up for lead acid. And so when I started trying to recharge the batteries, it wasn't doing too great. What's going on? And had a shower thought and dug into the manual a lot more detail. And yeah, there's a rotary dial on the face of that, and you have to change it to a different number so that it knows it's a different chemistry. You can do it through the app, but that's like a physical override. And since that thing kept disconnecting itself because the batteries were in a bad shape, it kept entering this protection mode, and it just wasn't letting the power over to it to recharge. So that's why I connected it directly to the batteries. And anyways, it's pretty cool, pretty exciting day.